Hi there, this is Emily Craig again, and yes, it's cold. I hear it's going to snow here in California. I mean, down here on the in the valley, that's unusual. And I'm going to have to start from scratch on this topic, coherence, because there aren't a lot of my subscribers who've ever gotten into electronic troubleshooting. That's the cat trying to get out. And coherence is missing from our public life right now. And I did one video, it talks about it a little bit, but I didn't really explain it enough. Okay. Coherence is how the electricity gets from the power station on the power lines into the wall plug and into the lamp. If you do a continuity check, you find that circuit is coherent. There's a line from point A to point B, right? And in our public life, there's a coherence between events and what happens next, okay? And history is a record of the supposed, because it's written by the winners, coherence between events and outcomes, although that doesn't always hold true. When Britain won the battle, it wasn't Trafalgar, it was the other one, won over Napoleon, and so England was freed from the tyranny of the French Empire. Instead of England having won in political terms, the Rothschilds were able to buy up all of the stock market, and behind the scenes and behind the curtain and under the table, the Rothschilds were able to take power away from the English monarchy that the monarchy was never able to retrieve. All right. So the history we have doesn't always portray the continuity of events. And that's one of the problems that we, the people who are taught by the educators, the concocted history, have, is that the powers that be are not upfront and truthful and candid and honest. And that's what's happening now. In connecting the dots, we have an event, an election, that was taken over by international forces in China, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Serbia that flipped the election from Trump to Biden. Not only that, but China sent in 5 million counterfeit votes. Not only that, but Soros and others paid poll workers to violate their state laws about tallying results. So right now we have a political system that is not coherent with reality, and it has no continuity with the actual laws of governance in the Constitution that is at work right now. Now, what is the Constitution that is at work right now? There's no continuity there. We don't even know, okay? In several respects, we hear that the Maritime Admiralty, corporate statute, commercial government that was established in 1871 was obsoleted and revoked and abrogated by President Trump, but nobody's talking about what next. Nobody's talking about the lack of continuity between the election and what's going on in the White House right now. Nobody's talking about the lack of continuity of the press that keeps churning out confabulated stories that have nothing to do with lawful governance in the United States. The behavior of the leaders of the Republican Party, who are neocons and PNAC advocates and rhinos, to overturn a Republican victory is an act of treason, and it is not coherent with the lawful history of the United States. And people are so unaware of what coherence is and what continuity of history is that they're just sitting back and saying, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Maybe Trump will win. Maybe he'll run again. Excuse me? Do you not expect to be told what is true by the people whom you elect to represent you? Then why are you allowing them to lie to you? Duh. Why are you allowing the mainstream media that lies to you hands down? Why are you allowing it in your living room? Why are you allowing yourself to be dictated to by people who don't tell the truth? How does this work? Have you rolled over and decided to play dead? Because if you roll over and decide to play dead, guess what? You get treated like somebody who rolled over and decided to play dead. All right? The coherence of a true history has been missing from this country since George III expressed his sovereignty over the newfoundling United States. Okay, in law, the legal profession has never fessed up and never told the people what the legal profession has done to governance in the United States. The legislature, the original 13th Amendment to the Constitution was that no lawyer, attorney, or barrister would ever be allowed to serve as a legislator in the Congress. Well, how come they're all attorneys and barristers and lawyers and tricky, combining laws with statutes, with codes, in order to fool us all into believing that this is the greatest country in the world where we are all serving as slaves to the banking industry. Okay, there has to be coherence between the actions of the government and the political choices of the people. And that coherence does not exist now. Now, what do you want to do about it? Nothing? Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm an old woman, I'm pushing 80. I'm not going to be here much longer. But if you don't stand up on your feet and start speaking out about the lack of coherence between events and what happens at the government level, you're invited to live the consequences of that, okay? You want to live like the USSR or like Venezuela today or like China today, just keep quiet and you'll get that opportunity. I'm not nice. I'm not a nice lady. Okay, and I look at the learned stupefaction of the people who sit with their hands folded and sit silently while they get rolled over. And I'm saying, hey, you know, this is not going to go well for you if you stay quiet. You must recognize what is true, even if that means you're going to have to go out of your way and figure it out. Find the coherence of truth in the news, and you're not going to find it at the mainstream media. Okay? You're not going to find it at the movies. You're not going to find it in the different versions of the alternative press. You're going to have to find it within with the Holy Spirit of truth. And get down on your knees and pray to God to help you discover what's true. And then we have to work from what's true to make the government of the United States into something besides what it has been, which is a patron of serial wars, a patron of drug running, gun running, child sex trafficking, because that's what the Democratic Party stands for. Is that what you want? Okay. If you don't want that, start figuring out what's true where you are and start making suggestions and civil requests that the continuity of truth be resupplied, be what gets brought up. And if you have to call your local paper and unsubscribe to the local news because the local news is just parroting the incoherent, okay, stuff coming out of the mainstream national press or the mainstream globalist press, tell your local editor, I'm not going to subscribe to this paper anymore because you're just repeating the same BS that we get off the TV and the same BS we get off the national media. Start objecting to being lied to. Have your children object to being lied to in school. Have you read your children's textbooks? Please read your children's textbooks and see how they teach blindness to treachery, protection rackets, and divide and conquer. The textbooks don't teach civil, honest, truth-telling behavior. Is that how you want your children to behave? Of course not. I'm just a grandma, and I'm watching people, the blind leading the blind, and it's just heartbreaking for me to see this happen in my country. And this has been Emily Windsor Craig, and I'm sorry to rant at you. I'm sorry. But there aren't enough people paying attention to the fact that history has been overturned and rewritten in front of our faces, and nobody's saying boo. Oh. God bless the United States of America when the people pay attention.